to spend some time with us and our special guests from GAF and Unilock. So today's theme is product transparency from roofs to roads. And while we were being a little bit tongue-in-cheek, the truth of the matter is that product transparency is so prevalent today that really you can find products, and in the transparency catalog, we have products in almost 1,300 master format sections. You can find products with transparency information for virtually every kind of product or material that goes into a building today. And so that's why we're super excited for the transparency catalog to have evolved over the course of the last 10 years. And today we'll be showing you Project Builder Library, which is really the kind of the natural evolution of the transparency catalog to allow organizations who design, build, or own buildings to create their own internal digital knowledge base of preferred materials based on the performance attributes that matter to them. And so you'll see today how easy we've made it to add products from GAF and Unilock, along with all the others in the catalog, to the projects that you're working on in your own organization's library. So thrilled to introduce Jeff Terry and Elaine Willis from GAF and Unilock. And I mentioned the 10-year time frame. We're celebrating a 10-year anniversary with GAF being a featured brand in the catalog, and Unilock has been with us for at least 8 years, 7 or 8 years, and thrilled to have manufacturers like this, not only in the catalog, but the demonstration of the commitment to transparency. And so the stories you're going to hear from them today are super compelling and quite sophisticated in terms of what they're doing, thinking about products and systems, and they're going to share those system stories with you today. I'm also excited to show you a sneak preview of what we're going to be featuring at Greenbuild in November through our technology partnership with Mindful Materials and our ability to parse and classify data in the catalog. We're able to build the kind of reporting that people are looking for to really track the contributions that high performance materials are making to projects in the rating systems and reporting environments that people care about. So I'm going to show you a sneak preview of that. So just to set the context, we've all been in the transparency business for quite some time. And in 2012, when LEED version 4 introduced the 2 pilot credits for EPDs and material disclosures, they had to delay sunsetting version 3 because there just weren't enough manufacturers making EPDs and material disclosures really until about 2016, 2017, 2018. It really started to kind of hockey stick up until about 2021. Product transparency moved from being referred to as a specification requirement to a construction requirement. And we see a significant number of construction users use the transparency catalog precisely for that purpose, to source products with EPDs and material disclosures as they're working on submittals. So we like to set the context that what is product transparency really about? It's about performance. Environmental performance and material health are performance attributes that people use to make decisions about products, but they're also the performance attributes that manufacturers like GAF and Unilock use to make decisions about how they make their products, so that when they're transparent with that information, architects, engineers, contractors, and owners can make better decisions about the environmental performance and material health of the products that they want to use in their projects. A little bit about Sustainable Minds. We're the only end-to-end product transparency solutions provider in the market today. for the high performance building industry. We're a program operator. We develop product category rules and publish environmental product declarations. We deliver LCA services and material ingredient assessment services. And we have a series of digital tools to get products into projects, with the flagship tool being the Transparency Catalog, and now literally Project Builder and libraries, getting products into projects and libraries. So we think about product transparency as really a product marketing tool in this context, because people create judgments about brands based on what they believe about them and what the brand presents. So transparency disclosures, making those understandable, tells an important brand story. And again, excited to have GAF and Unilock share those stories today. We work with industry associations and manufacturers at different points in that journey, from PCR to Transparency Catalog. Some we just work with on one end, some the whole journey, and we're excited to have that relationship with any and all of them. And really, it's taken us 9 to 10 years to see the market evolve to the place where it is sophisticated enough, where there is this demand now for organizations to have their own materials knowledge base of preferred materials inside their organization, so they can streamline their selection, specification, and procurement processes and not have to make the same decisions over and over again every time they work on a project. So that's the problem we're really helping to solve, is to standardize high performance material selection and let organizations build projects and libraries of their preferred high performance materials. In the catalog, you'll find over 2,000 manufacturers and industry associations. We're somewhere between 1,000 and 1,300 sections. We're continually updating the content, so the number changes. And we include EPDs from every North American program operator and every material ingredient disclosure program. So what's different about us as a product data aggregator is that because we have the technical expertise in LCA and EPDs and material disclosures, we're really committed to making that information understandable and easy to use so that people can use the results of the disclosures to make better decisions. So, we've moved from making the information not just easy to find, but it's most important now to make it understandable and usable. So some of the things we've done in the Transparency Catalog is to unbundle, for example, the carbon impact disclosed in EPDs through a relationship that we have with the EC3 tool. We've taken their comparative results through the API, created a custom API for us, and we've simplified it to just be able to show the user how much better or worse is one product as disclosed with its current EPD, much better or worse is it compared to other products in the category. And so we turn those comparative results into these quintiles, and so users can come in and filter the entire catalog or any master format section that they're working in. They can set that filter and only see materials that contribute, that have that comparative result, before they even maybe start looking at brands or other master format sections. And we've done the same for material disclosures. You might like to use HPDs, and you can find all products with HPDs, but we go further, and now we look at the results of an HPD and look at if any of the ingredients are on any of these 3 additional listings that now the HPD screens against: the Perkins and Will precautionary list, the LBC red list, and the cradle to cradle restricted chemicals list, so that you can even be more specific about, I like products with HPDs because they give me much more information about the ingredients. And if I want to follow or prescribe to any of these hazardous chemical lists, like the ILFI red list, I can now use HPDs to find red list free products if, for example, there's no red list free declare label. And users can filter by the disclosure type that they like and the result that would kind of set their minimum threshold. So taking a look at GAF and Unilock, GAF has lots and lots of products in their listing. They're always doing more. You can see they've got products in a range of master format sections. You can also see that this is just a snip of part of their listing. These links link to the product page on their website. These links go to the EPD. You can see that this EPD is in the lowest 20th percentile. And you can see here that for this particular product, they have a declare label and an HPD. It's a red list free declare label. And notice the HPD confirms that there are no red list ingredients in that product. And you can get that information through the HPD as well. Unilock has a zillion products in their listing. And in fact, it's every Unilock product has an EPD and an HPD version 2.3. Pavers are are currently still a pilot category at EC3, so the category is not completely built. And so because the category hasn't been built and approved, we don't share those results because they're likely not to be accurate. So we display that this is a pilot category, and if you read the tooltip next to it, it explains what a pilot category is. And there are version 2.3 HPDs for every product in their portfolio. So you can see it took me less than a minute to set up this Roof to Roads project, go into the catalog, select some products from each manufacturer, and start adding their products to this Project Builder and Library project. And I'll show you more about Project Builder later. But this is the sneak preview that all of the documents that we populate in the catalog in the public data set, in addition to any other types of documents a user might want to add to enrich the product information. So it could be any of the other 20 document types now listed in the soon to be released Common Materials Framework prioritized version 1.0. We automatically classify those documents when they are added, and the user, you can track to see all of the documents related to this product, and you can see their contribution to the impact areas in the CMF. And this is this automated tagging of product documents, which fuels the real-time reporting for the AIA Materials Pledge and LEED version 5, which I'll show you more of later in this presentation. So for now, with that setup, Jeff, take it away and tell us about what's happening over there at GAF.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. And I do want to kind of just make a point to, it's been 10 years together with Sustainable Minds has been an important partnership. And what Terry, really appreciate about what you're sharing is about the journey. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the ongoing journey and kind of how we're approaching that at GAF. For those of you who are not familiar with GAF, GAF is North America's largest roofing and waterproofing manufacturer. We have manufacturing, more than 30 manufacturing locations in 37 actually different communities around the country with over 5,500 employees. We've been around for almost 140 years, and I think one of the things that we're proud of is about 1 in every 4 roofs around North America is a GAF roof. We do this both on the residential and commercial side, and we do it in partnership and through certified contractors. So they're not employees of GAF, but we engage, partner, train, and kind of run the business kind of through our contractors. I mentioned a little bit on the residential and commercial side. We're really known for for our asphaltic shingles, but we also have an integrated solar shingle, a part of our residential portfolio, as well as built up and rolled asphaltic roofing. We're also in the metal sector, newly so in the architectural metal shingle sector, but we have a significant commercial business as well. That includes insulation to cover boards, to single ply membranes, to roofing coatings, as well as ground hard space coatings as well. So that's just a little bit of background on GAF. So kind of we look at the sector of sustainability as a key driver for the marketplace. We've seen the evolution of this as we all have for years, and as with everything, there's risks and opportunities. We're all aware of the changing regulatory dynamic that we're seeing at state municipal levels as it relates to climate disclosures, climate reporting, embodied carbon laws and requirements, as well as kind of changing in packaging laws. And so there's one element that's driving kind of important and needed change in the sector from a regulatory perspective, again, at state and local, but there's tremendous market upside opportunities. We continue to see growth in the green building sector, over hundreds of percentage increase year over year, which has been kind of critically important. And with the new LEED v5, we're going to continue to see this perpetuation and growth of performance, and I'll touch on that a little bit more in a minute. One of the things I loved, Terry, about what you said, it's about delivering good projects, buildings that perform, products that perform, systems that perform, and that is inherently core and underlying to drivers of sustainable building practices, as we'll continue to see well into the future. And here's just an example of some of the reasons why, and I'm not going to certainly go through this, but great research done by U.S. Green Building Council and others really demonstrates the value of sustainable building practices from design to construction to operations, in that it makes for a good business proposition. You're increasing kind of revenue opportunities for the property owner as it relates to rents or sale of properties, higher tenant satisfaction for kind of those who are living or working within those places, and more and more kind of positive performance opportunities. One of the things that's important for us, and I think when we talk about product sustainability and transparency specifically, we know that the architectural design consulting community are incredibly important trusted sources to property owners. But as manufacturers, we're also a trusted resource, and it is incumbent upon us to take the approach towards, and here's how we talk about it at GAF. We talk about life cycle thinking into how we develop our portfolio, and then use life cycle assessment as a tool and a vehicle to ensure that we're understanding how best to develop the products and portfolio, and frankly, services that we're offering to those property owners. And it's important for us to do that work and then disclose that work through verified third-party LCA and EPDs or HPDs or Declare or other third-party certifications, whether it's recycled content or what have you. I love the one slide, Terry, you showed that says, trust me. Well, fine, trust me, but we're always going to focus on third-party verification, audits, and disclosures and certifications tied to that. That's what's critical. And we talk a lot about EPDs. The industry average EPDs anymore aren't good enough, frankly. They need to be product specific, and the likes and opportunities of collaborating with Sustainable Minds is a great example of how to do that and how to bring it to life, whether it's from the very beginning to the end of the process or at one step in it, as Terry mentioned as well. For us, we think about kind of high performance buildings and how does our portfolio help property owners kind of realize kind of the highest performance that they can get. And that for us comes from how can we help reduce energy demand through efficient building design, and we do it through a whole portfolio of products and offerings, and arguably systems. I'm going to talk a little bit about systems as we move forward, but so much of our product sustainability and transparency work are really tied to two primary objectives. One is to help customers and property owners support the green building certifications that they're looking to achieve, hence why this work at its very transactional level helps them achieve their green building goals. But then from that building performance, first and foremost, it's about how are we helping to improve energy performance and lower embodied carbon by increasing durability and incorporating material health elements that are going to help that building perform even more. And this work is critically important. So here's the next two slides. We'll just give you a snapshot of kind of those sustainable systems or solutions that we provide, largely through the commercial sector. You know, we lead the roofing sector when it comes to product transparency, and incorporating LCA into our entire portfolio of products and subsequent third-party disclosures and certifications that accompany them. I mentioned energy efficiency and carbon reduction, not just through our insulation product, but how we're looking at the whole roof system. And I'll give some specific examples of that in a minute. Reflectivity and urban cooling are a significant area of focus for us, not just when we think about single ply membranes and coatings that go on low slope roofs, but how are we innovating technology around asphaltic products, bringing in reflectivity opportunities and levels unlike we've seen in the marketplace. And then certainly material health is a critical piece. You know, product circularity is a major aspect and element of our work, and part of that is incorporating recycled content into the products that we make, and not just doing it, having others annually look and audit us for that and help us understand where we are and ultimately help us get to even better levels in the future. So when we think a lot about kind of the residential side of roofing, we don't hold anything back. It's the same. We build LCA, life cycle thinking and assessment, into our whole product portfolio and our product development practices. We have Timberline Solar, which is a roofing system that has an embedded PV roofing shingle. That's not a panelized system. It's integrated and installed just like any other steep slope roof. Reflectivity and cooling is a critical part of this. I mentioned how even with asphaltic shingles, we're bringing reflector series technology to the marketplace that's kind of ensuring that even with darker roofs, we're increasing reflectivity to help improve dynamics like urban heats and urban cooling, most importantly. And then, you know, through the roof cycle, the GAF Roof Cycle Initiative, only manufacturer that's figured out how to take a roof off and reuse 90% of that material back into the installation of new asphaltic shingles. So just a snapshot of some of the work that we do. Transparency drives product selection. You know, one of the things that, you know, Terry mentioned was key. So across our entire portfolio, we're looking at leveraging material transparency, environmental impact transparency, and all other certifications across. And that comes through in kind of our, in how we show up in the Sustainable Minds Transparency Catalog. And we'll always kind of drive this work moving forward, so much so that it's not just at a product level for us. We're actually focused on building roofing systems that leverage life cycle thinking, analysis, and then the transparency elements into how a system can perform for a property owner, kind of beyond just one product at a time. But if we can leverage the learnings and build the best portfolio, we're going to help design, develop, and build the best roofing systems to perform the best from energy, carbon, durability, and material health for that builder, or for that property owner, for the building that they're looking to design and develop. So the evolution of this work is really around how do we take transparency and product performance and system performance together, and ultimately that's entirely the work that we've done. And we've looked at 6 different systems within the business that are some of the most typical systems that you find for a commercial roof, around kind of 5 different building types across all regions, all climate zones across the US in this case. And we've compared, based on the analysis that's been done, how our base systems to our kind of highly upgraded systems perform against equivalent systems, industry average and competitive materials. And we've seen a significant reduction in the approach that we've taken to achieve embodied carbon performance. And this is a critically important. So even with our base products and our base roof system, we're outperforming by upwards of 46%, or we have 46% less embodied carbon in our base systems than industry average, for example. And then compared to other materials, even greater performance in some cases. This is important and it's critical, because this is how we talk about the demonstration of how to take LCA, EPDs, HPDs, and then the learnings that we can get out of this to build not just better products, but better roofing systems that actually can help the built environment perform better than it ever has before. This is just a snapshot across all 7 climate zones in the US of how kind of our systems compare to industry average and competing materials out there. So this is learning and leverageable information that is important to put in the hands of architects, consultants, ultimately property owners, in making the decisions that they can. I'm going to share one just real quick case study. You know, we were engaged to participate in the Stanley Center for Peace and Security in Iowa. This was a project that was driven by Graham Construction. Newman Munson Architects brought us in, and Black Hawk Roofing kind of did the install. We were brought in as a part of the collaboration to achieve this Living Building Challenge building. It was an amazing opportunity to be a part of this, where we leveraged everything that we've done from a product sustainability and transparency perspective that helped them meet and achieve one of the most challenging kind of certifications to get. This is only the 31st LBC project building globally. So with that, I'm happy to kind of turn this back over to you, Terry, and I appreciate the time and opportunity to be with you all today.
Well, thank you, Jeff, and thank you for such a thoughtful sharing of the kinds of work that you're doing and the thoughtfulness of both the systems approach and really having that data to support the stories that you're telling. So Elaine, over to you, and people get ready to be blown away by beautiful projects.
Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Jeff. That was a great presentation, very interesting, looking at the systems in that respect. Really enjoyed that. Happy to be here and looking forward to telling you a little bit about Unilock and our products. My background is in design, but I've also been with Unilock for 27 years in various roles: sales, marketing, special projects, and ultimately that layered up to the role of sustainability, quantifying and implementing projects that can help to reduce our carbon footprint. Why sustainability? Well, we live in a beautiful world and we really want to make sure that we protect that. At Unilock, we're very fortunate because our products are able to contribute to making better environments, spaces for people to enjoy and relax, and spaces that contribute to everybody's health, both mental and physical. Personally, I love the synergies between business efficiencies, increasing profits while reducing our carbon footprint. It's a win-win, not just for Unilock, but for our communities and our next generations. At Unilock, our tagline is transforming hardscapes, and we have literally been doing that since we introduced paving stones to North America over 50 years ago. We also introduced permeable paving over 35 years ago, and today we are working on the next innovations that are going to have significant impacts to help us reduce the global warming potential of our products. Along with new product innovation, we'd love to see how our products transform spaces. A great example of this is Pier 97 in Manhattan. Previously, it was used to park sanitary trucks. Now, today, the picture on the right is the re-envisioned space, and it has literally been transformed into this gorgeous, welcoming park space for the local urban communities. Unilock manufactures precast concrete products, specifically paving stones, slabs, retaining walls, but we also have a comprehensive selection of accessory products, accessory items for installation, as well as other hardscaping products such as natural stone and a newly launched roof deck system. Our products primarily live within Division 32 in exterior improvements, but they also live in Division 7 in the roof deck systems and pavers segment. Now, when we talk about, as Terry mentioned, we have EPDs and HPDs for virtually all of our products, and we chose to do that because our products, all of our products are important for various projects depending on the design criteria. But our product does not function on its own. It's not like a toaster. You can't just plug it in, put your toast in, push the button down, use some energy, warm your toast, and you're done. Like, it's the only thing that does. Paving stones need to have an entire system that they sit within. This particular cross-section on the right shows our product on top of all of those various layers that are required to make it function. And not only that, when you're talking about the whole project, it's everything that's around the item, the paving stones that we're talking about. So when we're talking about our products, we need to make sure that we're doing so in a manner in which it takes into consideration the entire system. So this drawing shows you a little bit about what I'm talking about. It's used together with plants, soil that breathe in and clean the air and push the nutrients into the roots and the soils along with the carbon. Additionally, water filters through the paving joints into the subface, effectively cleaning the water while sequestering carbon. And that water feeds the groundwater table and the root system and the plants, ensuring that they grow to emit clean air back into the atmosphere. And this is what creates that cycle. And it's because of all the carbon sequestering elements in the system, the concrete, the plants, the roots, and the soil, that we essentially offset the global warming potential or embodied carbon value of the pavers in that project. And that's that value that's stated on the EPD. So when you look at how these operate within the entire system that they're going to be installed in, it paints a very different picture. A great example of a system approach is the Southwest Resiliency Park in Hoboken, New Jersey. This was a chronically flooding lowland district, and it was revamped using rain gardens, bioswales, and permeable pavement on the surface, while the infrastructure below can detain up to 200,000 gallons of water during a major storm event. This park has proven itself in several large-scale events, storm events, and set a new standard for integrating urban public space with storm protection. All this while creating a programmable space with open lawn, playful elements, all being used to engage the local community year-round. And this project was so successful that the second block adjacent to it was completed just a couple of years ago. Another consideration for some projects, depending on the design parameters, is that there may be other material savings that you can leverage that can turn into carbon savings when you're comparing different products for your project. For instance, in the two cross sections I'm showing here, on the left we're showing pavers used in a pedestrian application, and on the right we're showing poured in place concrete. So in this example, we're able to use a 60 millimeter paver that can do the same job as a 150 millimeter poured in place concrete project. That is about a 60% mass savings just by implementing a different product. When we look at this swap from an embodied carbon or global warming potential perspective, the designer can then leverage a 25% carbon savings by using pavers instead of poured concrete. This is just one example. And of course, these values would change depending on the project and the application and the design parameters, but very important to consider. When we circle back to, we have all these documents, we have all this transparency information, and it is now part of our toolkit that we take to our designers. And it's a very essential tool now for designers and architects, as well as specifiers, so that they can evaluate and make choices about the products that they're using on their project. It also becomes key to helping seek some of those sustainable building accreditations that we're working towards as well. A great example of that is the Navy Pier project, which achieved Site's Gold certification. It was a great example of how we worked with the designers and collaborated to meet that specific goal. We went back and forth, fine-tuning the textures on the surface and the ingredients in the mix. And this project includes both permeable and non-permeable pavers. And this was prior to having EPDs, so there was a lot of manual work involved, but we were able to create that unique paver that had a higher recycled content while being manufactured locally. And it has really been an inspiring transformation of space. Within the landscape design space, the need for these documents is really more in its infancy. It's similar to where I see that we were 30 years ago, 25 years ago with permeable paving, which today has become a best practice in many locations, in many regions. But these documents are necessary for the transparency of ingredients, sustainability of products, and overall sustainability of building those projects for the future. One of the issues that we see is that a landscape project has such a long lifespan, and we're at the very tail end of it. So from product consideration to construction, not even the whole life cycle of the project, depending on the scope, depending on the type of project, public or private, and many other factors, we can be looking at 3 to 10 years. And that is a really long time when we're talking about 2030 and 2050 goals. Creating these documents, I'm not going to say that it's easy. All the data is there. HPDs are pretty straightforward. HPD Builder makes it quite a bit easier to actually accomplish. EPDs are much more complex, but the tools are evolving and the technology is evolving. And we're seeing some of these tools being brought forward by industry streams as well. But it can still be very expensive to create EPDs, especially when you're using a consulting firm. But transparency is important because it gives us some sort of gauge. We're starting to see many goals and plans within specific industries which are going to bring change. And that is change that we're going to need in the building space. For us, obviously, primarily in the cement and concrete realm. And that's why we are really excited that we have launched EcoTerra. It is first of its kind in North America and an example of what that future is going to look like. Cement is one of a few ingredients that go into concrete, but cement contributes the greatest portion of embodied carbon. With EcoTerra, we are able to eliminate the cement in the top portion of that paver, and that equates to about a 15% reduction in embodied carbon or global warming potential. As I mentioned, this is just the first step to creating a carbon-reduced paver product. The nature of the binding creates a very tight surface, and in most recent testing, it delivered a very high compressive strength with low water absorption, and that is essential when these products are being installed in freeze-thaw environments. It is also very white, which means it works great when you're adding pigments to get that pop of color, and it also comes with additional benefits of low efflorescence, slightly water repellent, and all of that helps it to stay cleaner, and ultimately it is more durable. And it may even stand up a little better to acid rain and de-icing products, but we continue to do the testing on that. All of these points are very important characteristics to being more sustainable. So what's next? We've all mentioned LEED v5 today. That sets the bar very high in terms of accounting for all embodied carbon on the project. But it really does make EPDs essential to make that accounting happen. Much of what we need today to reach those 2050 goals and even some of the 2030 goals has yet to be invented. In the short term, we need to work with what is proven while we create and innovate for the technologies and products that will help us to reach our goals. We need to continue to teach on many, many levels. Permeable paving is one of those. Permeable paving, as I said, introduced almost 35 years ago, has become a best management practice in many regions, yet in some areas, it's still relatively unknown. And it's a very powerful tool when we're talking about site mitigation and carbon sequestration, while alleviating and lessening the effects of significant weather events. And those are only going to intensify. So it's a very, very essential and important tool. Again, I can't stress how important it is to talk about and teach the importance of assessing the system contribution or mitigation instead of only looking at a single product embodied carbon value. And Unilock is working towards our goal of carbon neutrality. We have a couple of years of data to work with. We've implemented some early stage projects, and EcoTerra is an example of how we see the future, and we'll continue to work towards these goals and evolve as technologies move forward. And we love supporting designers, working with designers to help them achieve their project goals, help them with specific features and functions alongside with reaching that goal of project neutrality, carbon neutrality, and carbon neutrality. Thank you so much. I hope you found that presentation informative and enlightening. Back to you, Terry.
Thank you so much, Elaine. That was very informative and enlightening, and I'm very excited about the EcoTerra product. That looks cool. What's the primary, that was a paver?
It is a paver technology, yes.
So I have so many questions, and I forgot to mention at the beginning of this webinar that those of you attending, if you have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the questions panel, and we'll either answer them on this webinar or we'll have the appropriate person follow up with you to answer the question. Also, there's a little Q&A when you exit the webinar. if you wouldn't mind taking a minute to give us some feedback and let us know what you're thinking. Also, if you want a rep from either of these organizations to follow up with you because you're so excited about their products, that would be a great thing to do. Let us know, and that will get passed along. So moving along, I promised to tell you a little bit more about the transparency catalog now with Project Builder and Library. And I would, if I were working on a project, I would put GAF and Unilock products into my project because they're doing really, really cool stuff. So Project Builder and Library is now application layer that is connected to the transparency catalog. And it is the only collaborative solution for organizations to create a digital knowledge base of products and materials that meet carbon impact and human health goals. What we're looking at doing is operationalizing product selection and closing the gap in workflow between data and tools between each stage. So from design to specification, from specification to planning, planning to building and management, to ultimately revolutionize the end-to-end process for teams. Our investigation for creating Project Builder and Library started in 2016 as we were getting into understanding the specification space and just the whole design and construction process. We wondered how buildings ever get built, honestly, because it's so complex. And why is it so hard to get the high performance materials that the design team selects in early stage design? Why is it so hard to make sure they get into the spec, they get sent out for bid, they show up in the submittal, and that they actually get purchased and installed? And so, we learned over time is because all the tools that get used along the way by different participants in the process are siloed. They're not connected. And most tools, no specification tool, for example, have sustainability data to enable specifiers to select materials based on environmental performance and material health. And contractors will use the subs they work with, who will source materials they can get from their distributors. And so we have to make it easy for people to not only find materials and make selections based on actual performance, but we have to make it really easy for everyone else in the design build process to be able to make sure that those products that meet the design intent and were selected by the people making the building actually get procured and installed. So it's kind of the natural evolution of the transparency catalog. We've worked with hundreds of architects, engineers, contractors, owners, and obviously building product manufacturers over these years to try to understand like what parts were broken and how we could improve it for everyone, and particularly for the building product manufacturers who we represent here at Sustainable Minds in the transparency catalog. Because if they're spending all of the time and money and taking the risk to be transparent, they should be rewarded by their products getting specified, selected, specified, procured, installed, so that they'll continue to be transparent and continue to make more products that are increasingly higher performing and less impactful. So what organizations can do now is build their own internal knowledge base. They can create projects, templates, product collections using their own selection criteria. And the beauty is that the underlying data is live and up to date. So it's not like creating a spreadsheet. It's not like building a database inside a firewall, which the minute you put something in a spreadsheet or in a database, the product's not updating anymore. It's not live, it's not current. And that's the value of actually having a digital knowledge base connected to a live and curated data set. So literally people can build projects. Every user gets their own personal library, and each organization gets its own library. So people can go source products from the catalog. They also can add any product from any manufacturer, not just products that are in the catalog, because ultimately, if they do add materials from manufacturers who don't have EPDs or material disclosures, that's why they're not in the catalog, so they don't have transparency information. We know about it. Sustainable Lines knows about it if they manually add products, which empowers us to reach out to those manufacturers to say, hey, people are adding your products to their projects and libraries. People who build high performance buildings, they would really like for you to have EPDs and material disclosures. And guess what? We can help you with that. So we've really have built a system. So just like GAF and Unilock, we too have a system of products and services to help drive the high performance building industry. So just a little bit more about how it works. We use the word projects very generally. A project is just a container for products where teams can collaboratively research, evaluate, and select brands and products. So a project could be an entire specific project, like a commercial office building in a particular locale that they're working on. But a project could also be a room type. So it could be that people in their firm who are experts on commercial bathroom products, mechanical people, interiors people, could curate a project called commercial bathrooms, where they've selected their flush valves, their toilets, urinals, all the things that go into a commercial bathroom. And now it's like modular construction. The people working on the commercial office building project, instead of having to go research commercial bathrooms again and again and again, they can rely on this curated collection that their colleagues have created. They could add the entire bathroom project to their commercial bathroom project, or they could just go into that project and pick and choose the exact products or materials that are going to work for their project and go ahead and add those. A very common use case in many firms come and talk to us and say, we're trying to green our specs. So how do we replace the high impact basis of design and acceptable substitutions with the materials we want to use all the time that really are lower impact? And so we've actually had many organizations use that format for projects, to materials people and specifiers to collaborate to build master format sections. In fact, it's so fast and easy to do. One of our customers, who's a large design build construction firm, in their 2-week evaluation period, the materials leader and the lead specifier collaborated to create 72 master format section projects. And the specifier was really skeptical initially, but when they got started, he recognized that pretty much all the brands that they have in their specs already, or that they find in the spec tool that they use, are also in the transparency catalog, because transparency has really become mainstream. So they were really excited to be able to, create projects using products that they know, as well as new products that they found based on the selection criteria that they wanted to apply. And then libraries are just where people in the organization can save their favorite products. And we've made it very easy to save products that have been reviewed and evaluated in a project, to literally favorite that product, and it automatically will go into the organization's favorite products library, so that simply by working on projects, people can be preserving that knowledge, either past knowledge that they're using again, or knowledge that they're acquiring through research now, to save that and dynamically build their favorite products library. So here's just a couple other screenshots, kind of the same thing I showed you before. All of the documents related to a product are classified by the Common Materials Framework. And so these are in progress Figma files. So these are in progress, but we are working with folks from the AIA Materials Pledge Working Group very closely. We're also working very closely with Wes Sullins at LEED and other LEED experts and consultants to really figure out what is it that people want to know. But here, what will happen is that now I'm inside my building project, and in addition to the other tabs inside of a project, so there's this project information tab, a products tab where all of your projects are. This is the snippet of the projects tab. Literally what it's doing is it's just showing you your project through different lenses. So the AIA Materials Pledge project level reporting is asking you at the project level, how many products are in your project that have documents that contribute to these 5 impact areas. And so they ask you to report, is it a quarter of the products, half, 3/4, all of it? So this gives a user really just a snapshot of how am I doing against the AIA Materials Pledge criteria. And if some of these columns are not filling up appropriately, they can go look for materials that have disclosures that contribute to those impact areas, or they can go and look for more disclosures from the manufacturer for a product they've already added. Here's some of our progress on the LEED V5 credit report. And so again, this is real time. It's going to change as you add products to a project. The LEED V5 credit is very different from the LEED V4 credit because it's not looking at, it's not easy like 20 EPDs from 5 manufacturers and you know you're done. The way this credit was written is to encourage people to use higher performing products that you're buying or using more of because it's contributing more impact to the total building. So, and then to actually calculate your credit value, you have to use the calculator that they will be publishing before Green Build. So without building that calculator, which we don't want to do, what we're doing is we're showing you the view of your project. So the manufacturer, the brand, the products that you have, the documents that are eligible to contribute. And so the MR tag is continuing to work on documents that are eligible to contribute to this credit, which are not the same as all of the documents that contribute to the LEED V4 credits. And they're also scored. There's a value to them. So we're showing you how you're racking up the products and documents relative to the scoring. And then we're building a progress estimator. Because if you're in early stage design, you wouldn't even know what the quantities would be yet. So it's too early to know. So we're working on a way to be able to estimate your progress towards being able to be eligible for this credit. And I invite you to stay tuned because more is coming and we will have it ready to reveal by Green Build, but we'll be sharing more in the upcoming weeks. So thank you all for attending today and hanging out with us, learning about GAF and Unilock products. Thank you to our presenters, Jeff and Elaine. I invite everyone to take a minute to answer the questions as you leave, and I'm going to wish everybody a great day. Thank you.